What is up, guys? Steven here, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Maybe playing some VGC. I don't think I've ever really done any VGC on my channel, but I've actually been interested in getting into VGC, and there are a couple reasons for that. The first of which is the new format just came out a couple of weeks ago, and I had a pretty good understanding of the rules in the old format, and what mons were good and why they were good and all that, but I never had actually played the tier, so I had a very basic understanding, and I actually wanted to get into the tier this time. And the other reason that I wanted to get into VGC is it's Pokemon's competitive tier, so if I ever want to go to like regionals or whatever, then I need to know how to play VGC. So I made this team with Giragumi on PokeShowdown, and they're much better at VGC than I am. And I would say when we made the team, it was we had a very we were very agreeable on all of the mons and all of the moves that we wanted. And I don't know much about building EV spreads in VGC, so they took care of all the EV spreads, which was really nice. And I'm going to explain my team a bit to hopefully explain some of my plays. And like I said, VGC is very different than singles, so I want to say preemptively that my narration is going to be a lot different than it is for singles. In singles, I just let it run through and explain as I'm going. But in VGC, there's a lot more to explain, I guess, because there's two mons on the field at a time. So I want to I want to stop at the beginning of every turn to kind of explain my thought process and all of that. So my team, we wanted to build Hail Room, and you can't build Hail Room without Mega Abomasnow. Hail Room is Hail plus Trick Room. Mega Abomasnow is incredibly slow, but it hits really strong, so it's perfect for Trick Room, and it gets access to Snow Warning, which is really nice for Hail Room because it lets you fire off perfectly accurate blizzards that hit both of the opponent's Pokemon. And it also just turns a lot of 3-hit KOs into 2-hit KOs and such with Hail Residual. And it lets you reveal Safety Goggles mons, and it lets you break sashes, and it's really, really useful. Next, we have Trick Room Klinklang, which is basically there for Sylveon, which is a really, really big threat in this tier. It gets access to Hyper Voice now in VGC, and it just hits really strong. It's Pixelate boosted, hits both of the opponents, and Fairy is a really good offensive typing in VGC. So that's why Sylveon is really good, because it's really bulky, and you can also kind of counter Trick Room teams with it because it's so slow as well. Next we have Milotic, and there's a lot of Intimidate mons in VGC, and Milotic gets competitive, which is for every stat drop you get a +2 boost in special attack. So anytime someone brings in an Intimidate mon, you get a +2 boost. And it learns Blizzard, so that works really well with Hail Room, because you can fire off, hopefully, competitive boosted blizzards that are perfectly accurate, and you're slow in Trick Room, and that only works if everything goes perfectly. Next we have Safety Goggles Heatran. One of the biggest threats to Trick Room is Amoonguss. It's incredibly slow, and it gets access to Spore, so they basically get to choose one mon per turn that they get to put to sleep. There's no sleep clause, so you're basically at a huge disadvantage if they have an Amoonguss in Trick Room against you. So Safety Goggles Heatran is amazing, because not only does it beat it offensively, but it also can't be put to sleep, so that's really, really nice. Next is Cresselia, because it's also an incredibly good Trick Room setter, and it gets access to Helping Hand, which is really nice because it lets you fire off even stronger blizzards, and if they don't have any resists to it, it just decimates the opponent, which is basically why we decided to run Hail Room in the first place, because it's strong. And last is Hariyama. It's a great mon in VGC. It gets access to Fake Out. It's slow, which works in Trick Room. Close combat hits hard enough in VGC, since you pretty much are just attacking stuff that's weak to fighting, like Tyranitar and Stoutland in this case. And we're running Wide Guard in the last slot because that really helps us against like Landorus, Therian, which normally carry Rock Slide and Earthquake, and it just helps against a lot of spread stuff, like even Sylveon. So, yeah, getting into team preview, my opponent has a Sylveon, an Aegislash, and an Amoonguss, so I'm going to bring Heatran. I'm bringing it in the back, though, so that my opponent doesn't know I necessarily have it, but I need to have it, and I need it healthy, which is why I'm not leading with it. The lead I ended up choosing this game is Hariyama Cresselia. I felt like it gave me a good chance of getting up Trick Room if I wanted to, and at the very least, I would be able to fake something out and maybe get off a Psychic, and at the best case scenario, they lead with like Tyranitar or something, so I can really pressure that slot with Hariyama. And the other mon I'm going to bring in the back is Abomasnow. I do carry Ice Shard, so that'll help me beat that Landorus if he decides to bring that with Heatran sitting there. And I also am running Soundproof as my base form ability, so that gives me a good switch into Sylveon. And I can win the Weather War against T-Star if I need to, because Stoutland is a big threat as well. So, like I said, I'm going to choose Hariyama Cresselia as my lead with Abomasnow and Heatran in the back. So, this is the lead that ends up happening, and it's not exactly what I wanted. The opponent is going to lead with Amoonguss Sylveon. So, on this first turn, the opponent really doesn't lose much by playing safe here and going for Spore on the Cresselia, or even going for Rage Powder on a Fake Out, and then going for Hyper Voice. So my play this turn is I'm going to Wide Guard, predicting Hyper Voice. I'm just going to switch my Cresselia into Heatran because it walls both of the opponent's Pokemon, so it's a really safe switch in. So like I said, I'm going to switch into Heatran and go for Wide Guard here. And the opponent does go for that Hyper Voice, so I block that nicely and Spores into the Heatran. So that was about as good of a first turn as I could have hoped for. I got my Heatran in safely, and a lot of Sylveons run Specs or even Scarf in this tier. So that Sylveon may actually be locked into Hyper Voice, and I could just spam Wide Guard. That's not what I believe is the safest play. I'm actually going to predict my opponent to go for Spore here onto the Hariyama slot, just trying to put something to sleep. And I'm going to go for Heat Wave just to get some damage. So I'm going to switch Hariyama into my Abomasnow, and which is also immune to Hyper Voice. So if they are locked into that, then I'm going to be immune to it, and Heatran doesn't take much damage anyway. So they're actually going to switch into Aegislash, which was kind of an interesting play, and I miss Heat Wave on it, but I do hit the Amoonguss, and they do end up going for Spore on my Abomasnow. So at this point, I don't lose anything by clicking Heat Wave, and I'm definitely afraid of a Flash Cannon coming in onto my Abomasnow, so I'm forced to switch Abomasnow out into Hariyama, and the Aegislash reveals Wide Guard, which is not what I was expecting, and the Amoonguss ends up foul playing my Hariyama. So the Wide Guard has been revealed, and at this point in time, I really don't think my opponent is going to keep the Amoonguss in. They can get the Regenerator by switching out, and I want that Aegislash gone because it's really stopping me from just clicking Blizzard at this point. So I'm going to Heat Wave and knock it off. So if they go for Wide Guard, then that's fine. I'm still going to get a lot of knockoff damage for free. If they go for King Shield, then I'm going to hit the Amoonguss or whatever switches in with a full powered Heat Wave. So I don't feel like I really lose much this turn by making that play. And they do end up switching out the Amoonguss into a Landorus, which I miss with Heat Wave. And the Aegislash is just going to Shadow Ball into the Hariyama, but I do get my Citrus Berry and get a pretty good amount of health back and just knock out the, Aegislash. So my opponent's going to bring in a Amoonguss here, and this is a tough play because that Landorus really threatens my Heatran, which is my counter to Amoonguss. So I have to play it carefully here. I'm also not sure if this Landorus is special or physical. And since I killed that Aegislash and the opponent revealed Landorus, I'm feeling pretty certain that that's all 4 Mons. So he doesn't have Stoutland or Tyranitar, so I don't have to preserve my Hariyama because it doesn't actually beat anything that's left. So what I'm gonna do is Wide Guard with Hariyama, in case they go for like Earthquake and a Protect with their Amoonguss, or I'm just scouting, and I'm gonna Protect with Heatran as well in case it's Earth Power Landorus and just targets my Heatran. So the opponent switches out into Sylveon pretty aggressively as I Protect and Wide Guard, and the opponent Earth Powers into my Hariyama. So I think I got predicted that turn. And as you can see, I called my Heatran back, but you weren't supposed to see that. So I just Protected with Heatran, so I only have a 50% chance to succeed again with a Protect. So I think the Earth Power is going to come in onto my Heatran, and a Hyper Voice is most likely incoming. So I'm going to switch my Heatran into my Cresselia because it has Levitate. I'm going to try to block the Earth Power, and I'm going to switch my Hariyama into Abomasnow because it's immune to Hyper Voice, and even if he does Earth Power that slot, it's not going to do that much. So, and I can pressure the Landorus with Ice Shard and all of that. So I'm going to go into Crest, and I'm going to go into Abomasnow, and it does Earth Power that slot and Psyshock the Abomasnow. So this turn I actually misplay a bit. I know at this point that the only Pokemon they have in the back is Amoonguss. So what I really should have done is either Giga Drained the Sylveon or just clicked Blizzard plus Psychiced the Landorus slot. But what I end up doing instead is Trick Rooming and Giga Draining the Landorus. I Giga Drain the Landorus just because I wanted to get health back, basically. That's really the only reason I did, and I also didn't want to miss Blizzard. But I stay in my normal form, and I'm immune to that Hyper Voice, and I Giga Drain into the Amoonguss, but I do get my Trick Room up, which is really, really nice. And once again, I do have 2 counters to the Heatran counters both Mons that are in, so I am just going to switch it in and just Psychic the Amoonguss slot. That ends up working out for me because I do get Heatran in for free. So this turn, I don't lose anything by Helping Hand and Heat Waving because it just hits both of the opponents hard. And another Hyper Voice is going to come in, and unfortunately I miss Heat Wave on the Sylveon, which would have done, I believe, about 80%. Because it was a single target attack, so I could have killed it with another Heat Wave, but you win some, you lose some. So this turn I could have rested with Cresselia, but I just wanted to Helping Hand again and Heat Wave. I just wanted to keep offensive pressure, and I'm going to Heat Wave again, and I actually hit the Sylveon. It does 40%, and I crit the Landorus, and it kills it, and the opponent forfeits because at this point Heatran wins the game. It beats both of the remaining Mons. And I did have that Abomasnow in the back, so I could have just stayed in and just clicked Blizzard Heat Wave until I won. So, yeah, that was a good game. And I'm sorry that if this narration went a little long. I just kind of wanted to explain my thought process really thoroughly. Um, I'm definitely not the best at VGC. I'm not, you know, the greatest at it. So it's just, I feel like it was kind of an opportunity to explain my thought process and um, honestly see if it makes sense to you guys. And yeah, if you like this video, drop a like, drop a comment. They're greatly appreciated, and I will see you all next time. Bye!